Hey, my name's Jason Creel and you're watching The Lawn Care Life. Today I'm going to show you 2 tricks that I use on occasion to get rid of really tough weeds in my lawn. Stay tuned. Maybe you're a homeowner or in business for yourself, but you got a yard that looks mostly perfect, and yet you've got just a handful of really tough weeds that you have trouble getting rid of. For me, those weeds are typically broomsedge or dallisgrass. My arch enemy weeds, they're a pain to get rid of and quite difficult, to be honest with you. So for broomsedge, there is an options out there. I mean, blindside, in my experience, if you do it multiple applications, can get rid of broomsedge. You know, and the funny thing is that MSMA is actually the product that will get rid of both of them, but unfortunately it's no longer labeled for residential properties. So what do you do if you've got dallisgrass or broomsedge, or maybe in your area it's some other weed? Well, let me show you 2 tricks that I use sometimes, and you know, use your own judgment on these, whether it's something you want to do or not. But with not a lot of options from a herbicide application that's not going to damage the grass, let me show you a couple things you can do. Both of these were shown to me by friends of mine in the lawn care industry. Okay, let me show you one tool that sometimes I use in a situation like we've described, where you have a tough weed. This is made by Hudson. It's called a weeding brush. Okay, let me back up, see if we can get a better view of it. But okay, essentially it is a PVC pipe with a cap on one end and a brush on the other end. So what you can do is you take the brush off and you're able to fill it with Roundup, basically, or any glyphosate product, and then you put the brush back on, and basically you just have a small brush that you're essentially painting on the glyphosate on the tough weed, as opposed to using like a handheld or backpack sprayer. And this allows you to be a little more controlled, a little bit easier to carry around. Now, because you're brushing on, it's actually putting out very little liquid when you brush it. So per the recommendation of my friend, he said he mixes it at half glyphosate, half water. So a very strong concentrate, much stronger than you would do in a backpack spray or a handheld spray, because in that situation you're going to be using a lot more water volume. This, you're essentially just painting a very small amount onto the leaves, hopefully doing as little damage to the grass around it as possible. So let me show you. All right, so you can see here the brush tip on it. It's already got the mixture in it. Let me show you the type situation that I might consider using this in. All right, if you see here, now this lawn is not doing too particularly well in this area. You see you've got a little moss here. It's centipede grass, and then in this one particular area you've got dallisgrass mixed in. So, you know, honestly, if you read labels, and there's some products out there that can have an effect on dallisgrass without actually, you know, damaging the centipede. But to my knowledge, not any of them will actually kill. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. But so you take your brush here, and all you're doing is simply painting it. And I try to get it on the center of the plant, and that's about it. You know, you might just press it on the ground, but very little as damage will be done to the grass. Now the trick is, will it actually kill the dallisgrass or not? Well, that depends on a number of factors. Sometimes you'll find that it just makes a brown spot in the middle of it, but the plant doesn't actually die. It can depend on the time of year. You know, if it's early in the spring when the dallis is just starting to get going, or late in the fall and it's a little bit storing its carbohydrates up for the winter, that might be a better, more susceptible time to go after the dallisgrass, or many other weeds for that matter. In the middle of the summer it can be more challenging, but again, like I said, this is a handy tool that you can use to do that. And I bought this one off Walmart.com. I actually checked the other day at the time of this filming, and they were not in stock. Amazon, they wasn't in stock, so it can be a tough thing to find, but it's called a weeding brush by Hudson. So you can see if you can find one. They're a handy little tool to have. I try to keep it on my truck. Now let me show you trick number 2 that was also shown to me by another lawn care professional on how to get rid of tough weeds like dallisgrass. Now, again, these are not something that you're necessarily gonna build a business around. I'm just saying, if it's a little trick, if you're having trouble with one particular weed or there's just a handful in the yard, you know, if it's a yard that has 500 clumps of dallisgrass, obviously you need to think of another way to get rid of the dallisgrass, and this is not gonna be the best solution. But there's just a few weeds, and again, it works even better on broomsedge. It's a little small weed. You just touch the brush on top of the broomsedge. That's one way to get rid of it without causing much damage in the lawn. All right, let me show you another trick. All right, so we're gonna find another clump of dallisgrass to show you for this next trick. All right, look at this big clump of dallisgrass, got some Bermuda growing around it. Actually a little bit of centipede and Bermuda both mixed in together. But a big clump of dallisgrass. Now here's what somebody showed me. He said basically you can take a handful, a small handful of high nitrogen fertilizer and put right in the center of the plant. And here's the thought behind that. Where when I'm using Roundup or glyphosate, basically you might kill the plant, but you're also most likely going to kill at least some area of grass around the plant. Now it'll grow back, but you know, trying to do as little damage as possible, but that's what typically happens. Well, if I take a handful of fertilizer, okay, and just sprinkle right in the center of that plant. This isn't ideal because a lot of this is slow release fertilizer. Probably better with just some quick release high nitrogen fertilizer, but basically what's gonna happen is that fertilizer, when it gets watered in, is gonna burn up that plant. Now the surrounding grass, this is the idea at least, is you know, the actual clump of dallis here is going to get way too much nitrogen, which should kill it. The surrounding grass should actually benefit from this fertilizer because it's not, you know, right on top of it. And so the idea is that this Bermuda is actually going to fill in quicker once the dallisgrass is gone because it's going to be fertilized. So, you know, it's worth a shot. Let me show you. I did this on a couple of clumps of dallisgrass. Let me show you what it looks like after just a few days. Okay, look at this. Centipede grass, clump of dallis in the centipede with the fertilizer on top of it. This was done maybe 3 or 4 days ago. And it sure did a number. You can see how brown the dallisgrass is. Now, you know, is it gonna be totally dead? My experience with dallisgrass, I'm not gonna pronounce it dead until it sure enough is dead, because sometimes I've been amazed at how brown it can be in the center of the plant and actually somehow finds a way to survive and begin coming back. But I believe it's gonna die. And you can see there's, you know, actually minimal damage surrounding in the centipede grass. I would say less than if I would have used glyphosate and tried to just spot treat a clump with a backpack sprayer or with even the brush that I showed you earlier. So, you know, I feel like this is a handy trick. Again, you're not gonna want to run around with 500 clumps of dallisgrass putting a handful of fertilizer on every one. That would take forever. But if you got 1 or 2 tough weeds, this is a trick you can use. Now, there's other ways you can kill dallisgrass. In a Bermuda lawn, you can wait till it goes dormant in the winter. You can use glyphosate then without really causing damage to the dormant Bermuda. There's other products that are labeled for it and that will cause some damage to the dallisgrass, and maybe even with repeat applications will knock it out. I want to show you a couple of products that a friend of mine was telling me about, a combination he uses. And he uses a couple of products called Celsius and Certainty, and when you combine those at the high rate, both of them show on the label some control of dallisgrass, and combined at the high rate. And good thing about it, for us in the South at least, those 2 products can be used on all 4 of our warm season grasses that we're primarily dealing with: Bermuda, zoysia, centipede, and St. Augustine. So in a centipede lawn where there's virtually no options except for the tricks I've showed you, for dallisgrass, you can use Celsius and Certainty and get at least some measure of control. Whether that means it'll die or not after multiple applications, I'm not sure. But let me show you what it looks like after just 1 application with those 2 products. So you can see here, this clump of dallisgrass is not very happy now. You got a lot of purplish leaves, which you know, is a good sign as far as me trying to kill the plants. We're talking about in the heat of the summer, a strong, healthy dallisgrass plant. So again, from my understanding, your most vulnerable time would be late in the fall, before the plants go into dormancy. So I'm pretty impressed with this after 1 application. you know, I think I'll spray it again and see what happens. Keep an eye on it, and you know, see will it actually kill it, or does it just suppress it for a while. Thanks for watching the video. Hey, if you've got any tips or tricks you want to share in the comments below, I'd love to hear them. Specifically, do you have things that you use for dallisgrass or broomsedge or other tough weeds that give you fits? Maybe you've got a question, that's fine too. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel. I'll continue to try to provide helpful content for you. Check out these suggested videos, and I'll talk to you later.